Greetings to all my viewers, and thank you for keeping me motivated by watching my videos. So let's begin from where we left before, and here we go. We began with the chapter of foreign exchange rate, where we talked about what do we mean by the term foreign exchange, and eventually we talked about the rate at which the things are or the currencies are exchanged. Thereafter, we talked about the currency depreciation versus appreciation of phenomena, which happens in the flexible exchange rate. And then we did talk about the fixed exchange rate system, wherein we have the currency devaluation or revaluation phenomenons. And then we discussed what do we mean by managed floating system, which is actually the system taken up by most of the economies of the world today. They are not on these two extremes of flexible versus fixed. They are somewhere in the mid, that they let the rate of exchange be managed by the market forces and intervene only when it is required. So this type of hybrid system is managed floating system, and I did discuss with you that government manages and jumps or intervenes as and when the rate goes beyond the tolerance set by them. By bulk buying and bulk selling, they try to bring back the rate in the tolerance zone. And when it is done to harm others, so it is called dirty floating. So today's lecture begins from the topic demand for foreign exchange. Let's begin. First and foremost thing, let us talk about the real lives. Foreign exchange for an Indian is, say we are talking about $1. Okay. So when would an Indian be needing $1 at all? Simple. I need somebody else's currency. Why? To buy the goods and services and assets and making some benefits for myself from that country. So, as and when a foreigner is in need of some goods or services or assets or gold or land property or something of some other country, then we need the currency of that country. Right. On a very similar note, demand for foreign exchange would be for this very reason. These are the reasons listed here for importing the goods and services, for tourism, if people are going there abroad, for fun, for some political tours or some, advising hospital services or something, right? Unilateral transfers, if the gifts are to be sent to your near and dear ones there, so you need to buy from there, right, and give it to them. Then purchase of some assets, maybe a piece of land or property there. So people who are selling their property there in America would definitely be needing American dollar from you. Hence you need to have the American dollar. Hence, you in India would need American dollar to purchase the asset in some other country. That can be a physical asset or some financial asset like some shares, debentures, bonds of some foreign country, or for some speculation purpose. What do you mean by speculation here? People do try to buy the things, and here the things are the currency. Right, buy the things at lower rates and they wish to sell that very thing when the rates are higher, so that they just are able to reap that benefit of the margin there in between. Right, if somebody buys some good at 20, right, and sells at 50, so that 30 is his own margin. So for some speculation reason also, the people in India would try to have some currency, right, of abroad, and when the appreciation is expected to happen of that very currency, so that would be sold and that speculatory gains would be there with the person. So these all are the factors which lead to the demand of foreign exchange, right? And then they say reason for rise in demand. Now, we have already traditionally known that the demand curve slopes downwards. Now, the only thing you have to keep in mind is that we are traditionally doing the curve this way, making the curve this way, that demand for foreign demand and supply is written on the x-axis, right? The price or the rate is written on the y-axis, but you have to talk about the foreign exchange. So demand for foreign exchange and supply, or here you are writing the price of foreign exchange. So say the foreign exchange is talked about with reference to point A here initially, that this quantity Q1 is bought at and sold at rate 1. But if the price goes higher, it means that foreign currency becomes expensive now. So what would be the reaction on the demand? Now the people would be buying and or demanding less, because those who were only for speculating, right? So maybe they withdraw. Those who wanted to have some fun tour, maybe they withdraw. The mandatory things would definitely be going. So point is, when the things become expensive, the rate has gone higher, so the demand has gone down, or simply has gone leftwards, right? So this is the reason why the rise in demand happens and why the fall in demand happens. When the price of foreign currency falls, it becomes a matter of advantage for the domestic people, and hence they demand more. But if the foreign currency rate goes higher, it becomes expensive for the domestic people, and hence they demand lesser then. Right. So the demand curve, how does it look like? It is the traditional demand curve, and it simply has got a negative slope, or it slopes downwards. Right. Now the second aspect is supply of foreign exchange. Now what you are to think is, who is going to give us the supply of foreign exchange? Foreign exchange we are talking about here is the dollar. Right. So who would supply dollar to us? We are Indians here. Okay. So the supply means that American is going to give us the supply. Now the situation is, when the things would be supplied, when the dollar would be supplied, when they need something in India. It means when they need to buy something, some goods, some service, some asset from India, so they would be supplying, right? So it means if they are buying, we are selling. It means when the exports of goods and services happen, they are the buyers, they will supply. When foreign investment happens, means they need a piece of property or land in our country. It means foreign investment happens, right? Remittances, speculation, the same very thing. If they are expecting that Indian currency is going to get a high, right? So they may buy in bulk, so they demand, and it means they demand our currency, so they supply their currency. Demand and supply are just the similar but the opposite concepts to each other, right? So in the previous example of demand, I simply wanted you to understand that you are in need. So why are you in need? Now supply means the other person is in need of our currency. So why is he in need of our currency? So all those needs would become a matter of supply of foreign exchange for our country, right? Now, when we talk about supply, now what happens? Supply is a positively sloping curve. We can understand supply curve on a very similar note as we did in the demand curve. Let's check it out from this given diagram. In this given diagram, supply curve is showcasing a positive slope. What are we writing on x-axis? The supply, and on y-axis the price of the foreign exchange. So as we have taken in the given example, the price has risen from 70 to 74. Now try and understand. Let's take this first point of reference A. At point A, when the rate is 70, the quantity supplied by the Americans, the suppliers of the foreign exchange, is this, right? But if the currency weakens for us and it goes to 74, so they are giving $1 only, but they are now getting the worth of 74, more than before. So are they interested more or less? Of course, they are interested more now. So they are supplying us with more of the currency. So point is, that's why we say that supply curve has a positive slope with respect to the rate of foreign exchange. If the rate of foreign exchange rises, our currency becomes weaker, right? There is a positive effect on the supply of the foreign exchange. So it has got a positive or rising slope. So we have read this in our previous class also. How did we determine the rate of exchange? It is simply a beautiful statement. I did talk about the same in one of the shorts also, that Alfred Marshall, talked about this price determination process with respect to a metaphor, saying that price determination works like the two blades of a scissor. If we want to cut a piece of scissor, both the blades are required. Similarly, demand and supply are those two blades of the market which determine the prices. So demand curve is drawn downward, supply curve is made to move up. So point of intersection is the point of equilibrium. This is the rate and this is the quantity which is determined by the market forces of demand and supply. And what are we trying to determine? The rate of foreign exchange, and the quantity means the demand and supply of the foreign exchange. We have also read about the excess supply and excess demand position, but these are unstable situations, and with the changes in the prices sliding up or sliding down, the equilibrium is restored automatically in the market. Now, changes in the foreign exchange rate. A beautiful expression, and we can just work it out ourselves also. I'll try to give it to you. Like, if the basic structure is, this is the demand and supply, right? And so this becomes the equilibrium, this is price, and this is quantity of the foreign exchange. Then it gives the case of increase in demand. So what would happen? This was our demand and this was our supply. So I'm trying to now showcase the case of increase in demand. So demand is this, supply is this. There is no change in the supply, but demand is showcasing an increase. So what would happen with this increase? Of course, the rate would go higher along with the quantity. On the same note, if this supply or if this demand decreases, so it would be showcased shifting downwards, and this way the new equilibrium would be restored here and here. Now the prices determined would be lesser. So this is giving you a beautiful expression of how the demand forces impact the rate of exchange. So with the increase in the demand of foreign exchange, the rate rises. With the decrease in the demand of foreign exchange, the rate falls down. And if we talk about the other force, that is the supply. Now, demand is not showcasing any change if there is a matter of increased or decreased supply. We know if supply is more, it's a glut situation, the prices crash. So let us see. If this is the basic equilibrium point of determination of the rate, right? And supply now is increased. Increasing always means the rightward shift, and decreasing means the leftward shift. So rightward shift would result in the fall in the rates, and the leftward shift will result. Leftward shift means the shortage. Supply is now less. So that will result in the hike or the higher rates of the foreign exchange. Now, foreign exchange market. So for every sort of trading, we need market. The market is the place where the things are bought and sold. Earlier, it used to be the physical market. Now, these days, we go for Amazon, Flipkart, whatnot. So it's a virtual setup as well. So the condition of physical place now is not mandatory. We may just say the market where the things are bought and sold. So when we are talking about the foreign exchange market, where the foreign exchange is bought and sold, so it could be, the individuals, firms, the brokers, banks, etc. Anyway, who can be buying, selling, trading, converting, exchanging the currencies. Okay. Now, what's the function of foreign exchange market? First is the transfer function. What do I mean by the term transfer function? It simply transfers your purchasing power. What does that mean? I have 1 billion with me in India, right? Would that 1 billion be serving me for any cup of tea or coffee or boarding for me in some other country? No. Till I get to have their own currency, they would not give me the things. So that foreign exchange market transfers my ability to buy here in India to my ability to buy in the other countries. That is the transfer function here. Credit function also, it provides the credit for the foreign trade. So foreign trade, they are long processes. It's not that in a blink the buying and selling happens. The goods move through, maritime channels, and also it's a time taking process. So credit function is given by these foreign exchange markets to importers and exporters. And this is hedging function. Hedging means when we are trying to safeguard ourselves from the risk involved due to the fluctuations. So I'll try to give you one example that would be done. This hedging function would be covered in the forward market function also. I'll try to make you understand. I'll try to relate. Hedging means when we are fixing something and we are not letting the foreign exchange rate on its own on some other future date. So when it is freezed, we are free from any risk of fluctuation and hence the loss or gains, right? So the transactions happen on pre-decided rates. So this also happens in foreign exchange market. Now the kinds of foreign exchange market, one is spot and the other is forward. Very simple. If I want to buy something, I go in the market, I give money and get the thing. So that's at the spot transaction. The same happens in spot markets. It means where the receipt and payments are made immediately, right? So, and when we talk about the foreign market, what happens now? Let you be with me for an example. Say I want to buy a bangle for me, right? And I go to the market. I like a beautiful design available there, but that is not of my size. What would I do? Would I compromise with the oversized or undersized bangle? No. I'll try to tell that person, sir, this is my token or this is my confirmation. I'll visit you once again after 15 days. So get me the thing as per my parameters, right? So what is this? I opened up my transaction today, but I'll close it on some other date. So such a type of transaction. If it was a matter of these earrings, right? Size free. It would have been a spot transaction. I gave the money, took the things. But because it was a matter of my, parameters, right? So it becomes a transaction of forward, means today I entered and I'll close it tomorrow or some other future date. So this is forward market where the sale and purchase of the foreign currency is settled on a specified future date at a rate agreed upon today. Now, at a rate agreed upon today helps you hedge your transaction. The thing which I gave you. Hedging is a function of an exchange market, and hedging means you are safeguarding your interest from the fluctuations which may happen. You may or may not hedge your transaction. If you are hedging it, so you are making yourself risk free from any fluctuations which do happen in the foreign exchange rates. So with this, we close this session and this chapter. Your queries and your comments are welcome. See you in the next video. God bless. Bye-bye.